members of the diplomatic community, senior officials, security agencies, scholars and experts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement, it is my great honor and privilege to welcome you all to the Nepal-India Think Tank Forum being held here today at the Kathmandu Marriott Hotel under the agenda Regional Resilience Strengthening Nepal-India Security Cooperation. My name is Ruvika Pradhan, representing the Media and Outreach team at NIICE. We hope everyone enjoyed watching the audiovisual. May I now request the team to prepare the stage for panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, today's gathering is not merely a conference. It is a timely strategic dialogue. In a world defined by shifting geopolitical realities, transnational threats, evolving security challenges, Nepal and India continue to share a relationship that is shaped by history, culture, geography, and civilizational continuity. As we move forward, our shared future must be strengthened. To discuss Nepal-India relations, we are honored to host an exceptional panel of speakers from Nepal and India today, individuals who have contributed significantly to the policy, security, and academic disciplines of the region. Before we formally begin, may I request everyone to please ensure your mobile and phones are on silent mode. Kindly remain seated during speaker remarks unless absolutely necessary. We kindly request the panel to regard the time allocated for each session so that we may maintain the flow of the program. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we now begin the first session. As we commence the forum, I would like to invite Ms. Sumitra Karki, the Director of NIICE, to deliver her welcome remarks.
Thank you, Ruvika. Distinguished guests, members of the diplomatic community, representatives from various ministries and security agencies, scholars and experts, friends from the media, dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, good morning, and a very warm welcome to you all on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of NIICE. On behalf of the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Nepal-India Think Tank Forum on Regional Resilience Strengthening Nepal-India Security Cooperation. We are thankful to the kind presence of our esteemed guests from India. Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is an independent, apolitical, and non-partisan research think tank which believes in freedom, democracy, and a world free from conflicts. We envision a world where sources of insecurity are identified and understood, conflicts are prevented or resolved, and peace is advocated. It was registered under the Companies Act 2006 of Nepal in February 2016. We are celebrating 10th year anniversary this year with different major events and publications. Over the past decades, NIICE has grown into one of Nepal's most active research institutions in the field of security and international affairs. We operate with a small but dedicated core team supported by visiting fellows and interns from across the region and beyond. Our primary focus areas include foreign policy, security, and development. At NIICE, we place special emphasis on India, as India is Nepal's most important neighbor and both countries share a uniquely close relationship. Over the years, we have hosted leaders from Indian political parties, former foreign secretaries, senior diplomats, the chief of defense staff, the chief of the army staff, senior security officials, as well as scholars and experts. We organized the closed NIICE annual dialogue with the Center for Land Warfare Studies in 2019, 2020, and 2022. In 2023, we hosted the NetStart NIICE Policy Dialogue, and in 2025, the CAPS NIICE Policy Dialogue. Apart from these, we have had numerous lectures with experts from both the countries. We also have huge number of online interns and visiting fellows from India. We have signed MOU with several others, including CLAWS, CAPS, and National Maritime Foundation, and partnered with the reputed Indian universities, including JNU, the Delhi University, and South Asian University, as well as over 15 major think tanks such as Vivekananda International Foundation, Observer Research Foundation, United Service Institutions of India, and NASTART. We regularly organize discussions and publish reports and monographs on Nepal-India relations. It is in this context that we are organizing today's Nepal-India Think Tank Forum. For this event, we approached several prominent think tanks in India and Nepal. Unfortunately, institutions such as IDSA, ORF, ICWA, and a few Nepali think tanks could not participate due to their prior commitments. However, this is just the beginning. We hope to have them in future. Today's forum is not about prescribing policies or endorsing specific positions. It is about creating a trusted space for dialogue, reflection, and honest exchange, something that think tanks are uniquely positioned to facilitate. Our objective is to strengthen links between Nepali and Indian think tanks so that regular engagement takes place, joint research is undertaken, differences are discussed openly, and practical solutions are proposed. We strongly believe that the government of India should further support Nepal studies in India, and the government of Nepal should promote India studies at home. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to briefly highlight a few aspects of Nepal-India relations. Security cooperation between Nepal and India has evolved speedily over time, often quietly and pragmatically. Because of our open border, the security concerns of one directly affect the other. Our futures are therefore closely intertwined. The tradition of conferring honorary chief of army staff titles on each other's army chiefs is unique in the world and reflects deep mutual trust. India has been a key security partner for Nepal, and in doing so also safeguards its own interest because a stable, peaceful, and secure Nepal serves India's security as well. The foundations of security cooperation between India and Nepal rest on the Indo-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1950, which is the core bilateral framework governing their relations, including security matters. Defense cooperation is reinforced through annual joint military exercises such as Surya Kiran, whose 19th edition was held in 2025. Institutional engagement continues through the India-Nepal Bilateral Consultative Group on Security Issues, focusing on trans-border crime control, border infrastructures, and disaster preparedness. Cooperation also includes intelligence, coordination, and humanitarian assistance. Notably, Operation Maitri in 2015 demonstrated close military cooperation during Nepal's earthquake response. During the COVID-19 pandemic, India further supported Nepal by providing medical equipments worth 288 million Indian rupee in the Nepali army. India has consistently supported Nepal through military trainings, disaster response, and defense exchanges. Both countries also maintain well-established institutional mechanisms for border coordinations. Despite its complexities, the open border remains a unique asset in enabling people-to-people ties and economic interdependence. At the same time, changing realities require adjustment. Traditional crime, human trafficking, cyber threats, climate-induced disasters, and fake currency demand stronger intelligence sharing and modernized coordination frameworks. It is time for Nepal and India to deepen cooperation on non-traditional security threats such as terrorism, climate change, cyber risk, fake currency, and human trafficking. This has become more significant in the aftermath of cross-border terror attack at Pahalgam. There is also a strong need for deeper economic integration, enhanced digital connectivity, and closer cooperation in disaster response. We should work together, integrated Buddhist and Ramayana circuits to promote religious tourism, improve border infrastructure and customs producers, procedures, establish more integrated checkposts, expand air connectivity between India and Nepali cities, and develop additional transmission lines for power trade. In this entire process, the role of youth, think tanks, academia, and media is crucial. They help generate balanced ideas, challenge stereotypes, and translate strategic intent into public understanding. Today's youth are well informed. They tend to trust facts and evidence rather than just what they hear. Nepal-India relations must be shaped in ways that benefit the growing youth populations of both countries and respond to the realities of the 21st century. Investing in dialogue platforms, youth exchanges, and in knowledge networks will help ensure the bilateral relations remain adaptive, empathetic, and resilient. Resilience is not built only in conference rooms or official agreements. They are built in classrooms, newsrooms, research institutions, and everyday social interactions. As we begin today's deliberations, I encourage all participants to speak freely, listen carefully, and engage respectfully. There is no single roadmap to regional resilience, but there is collective wisdom in this room. Nepal-India relations have endured because they are layered, adaptive, and rooted in social connections. A strengthening security cooperation within these broader relationships requires patience, creativity, and sustained dialogue. Let them contribute in its own modest but meaningful way to that ongoing process. I thank you all for speakers and participants for being part of this important conversation, and I wish the forum productive and insightful deliberations. I wish our Indian delegates a pleasant stay and a very successful forum. I once again welcome you all to this think tank forum. Thank you and Jai Nepal.
Thank you for the welcome remarks, the opening remarks. Now I would like to invite the Research Director of NIICE, Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, to do the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Rubika. Distinguished guests, member of the diplomatic community, scholars and experts, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to you all. Initially, I had planned to speak on Nepal-India defense cooperation, but my NIICE team asked me to talk about 10 years of NIICE, as we celebrate NIICE's 10th anniversary today. Putting a decade of hard work in 10 minutes is not easy, but I'll try to give you a brief overview of how NIICE has evolved into one of Nepal's leading think tank with a growing regional and international presence. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge my Professor Sanjay Thaplial, who is present over here. She introduced me to Nepal as an academic discipline during my time at JNU in 2009. Although I am a Nepali and have a general understanding of Nepal, it is she who helped me to understand Nepal academically and analytically. I truly owe her much of what I am today. In February 2010, I joined Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis, which is India's leading think tank. In fact, Captain Alok Bansal, who is also here, he might not remember, but he and Commodore Uday Bhaskar had offered me a position at National Maritime Foundation, but I chose IDSA. At the time, coming from a landlocked country, I could not fully anticipate how important Indo-Pacific and maritime affairs could become in next 10 years. At IDSA, I had the privilege of working with Professor S.D. Muni, Dr. Arvind Gupta, Dr. Nihar Naik, and many others. I still remember the wonderful stories of K. Subramaniam, the father of current Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar at IDSA, about the formative years of IDSA. And it was at IDSA that the seed of creating a think tank in Nepal was planted in my mind. During my 2.5 years there, I interacted with leading scholars and strategic experts who shaped not only India's strategic thinking, but whole of South Asia. From room 345 of IDSA, as I look at institution's impressive infrastructure, I dreamt of building something similar in Nepal. Today I realize how ambitious the dream was. But the dreams inspire us, they guide us and push us forward. During those years, my encounter with many senior Nepali leaders and policymakers, President Ram Baran Yadav, many prominent leaders like Prachanda, Baburam Bhattrai, Sher Bahal Deuba, Madha Nepal, KP Oli, and many others, as well as Chief of the Nepal Army, even Pajang Sir, editor of many newspapers, and senior official of Nepal visited there. I had never encountered them in my life before that. So IDSA gave me what I call a top-down exposure, as it was and it fundamentally shaped my strategy and thinking. Long discussions on China and Pakistan at IDSA sparked my interest in China studies. My colleague also pushed me to write. I still remember Dr. Arpita's word, Pramod, publish or perish. There is no third option in research. In July 2014, I submitted my PhD on Nepal-China relation and India's response and returned to Nepal. What followed was a difficult period, 17 months of uncertainty between Nepal and Delhi, and then I joined IPCS as a senior fellow for China Research Program. Those months taught me what Professor Barun Sahani had said in my first IR class, the world is harsh. That made me strong and be prepared for the days ahead. In all those years, what I have invested in this think tank is very little money and lots of hard work, but huge amount of passions. The only foundation of NIICE is our passions, mine, Sumitra, Vivek, my parents, my family, and others who are part of NIICE. Without passions, I think we could have crumbled the dream of NIICE anytime. Although I had conceived the idea of NIICE in 2010, it was in 2015 that I became determined to build it. NIICE was formally registered in February 2016. I continued working for IPCS in Delhi as senior fellow and director of China Research Program. Because of IPCS, I got opportunities to visit many think tanks of China and many other countries in the region. I visited many Chinese think tanks and universities and met many of the South Asian scholars in China. Later, the standoff between India and China and COVID put end to that. Then I came to Nepal. After 9 months of registration, NIICE got its first office, a shared space at my sister's construction company. We had no funding, no project. We had few interns. We produced newsletter, monitored media, and wrote to think tanks across the world without any response. But we made ourselves visible. Whenever I was invited to speak abroad, I represented RISE. We approached almost every major think tank. Only Vivek and Sumitra can confirm whether there are any left. And if there is any, they should write to them tonight. In September 2019, we signed the first MOU with clause, and the approach came from India. And that was very exciting for us. Our first joint event was inaugurated by former Prime Minister of Nepal. The second annual dialogue in Delhi was inaugurated by late General Bipin Rawat, India's first CDS. By 2019, we had a functional website and a modest office. Then COVID struck. For many, COVID was the worst of times. For NIICE, strangely, it was the best. I reflected deeply and reimagined NIICE. And we began a second inning of NIICE. I started writing emails to everyone I had known for the last 13 years, invited them to speak online at NIICE. We were amazed by the responses. We even wrote to the Prime Minister and President of different countries without hesitation, because they were just an email away from us. Some declined, but the Australian Prime Minister at that time, Scott Morrison, formally refused on an official letterhead, and that it itself felt like achievement for us, because there was a response from the Prime Minister. But many said yes. Former Prime Minister, National Security Advisors, Foreign Secretaries of India, senior officials from US, Japan, Australia, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Israel, and New Zealand, everyone responded. We hosted leading international relations scholars, John Mearsheimer, Barry Buzan, Amitabh Acharya, Robert Cohen, Stephen Walt, Kishore Mahbubani, John Ickenberry, Noam Chomsky, and many, many others that we can't name here. For some, those names were familiar. For us, they were great scholars that we had seen on the book covers. Our goal was simple: connect Nepal with global intellectual community and debate, and we adopted a collaborative approach. Some Nepali scholars initially questioned our focus on international experts, but our intention was not to repeat what was already existing in the country, but to create a new space of dialogue. At the same time, we received support from many Nepali experts, such as Samuram Simkhara, who is here, Dr. Dipa Prakash Bhatt, General Nepal Bhushan Chand, who is among us, Major General Binod Sir, who is always with us, Major General Purna Shilwal, Ambassador Mohan Krishna Sir, who is also among us, and several others who are present here today. Today, NIICE works on issues that are rarely discussed in Nepal, such as nuclear security, maritime security, Indo-Pacific affairs, or the Russia-Ukraine war. We developed Nepal's outlook on the Indo-Pacific, engaged with US Department of Energy on nuclear security, worked with India's National Maritime Foundation. We worked with several reputed institutions like National University of Singapore, American University, Chulalongkorn University, and several others. We have collaborated with these institutions and produced over 20 books and multiple policy papers that are being cited around the world. Most of these are freely available online. Almost all of the NIICE products, you can get it free online and it's available without cost. NIICE gave us great exposure. Many of our interns are in the most reputed universities of US, Australia, Singapore, India, Japan, Europe, and several parts of the world. I received huge number of opportunities to write, speak, and support our project. Because of NIICE, I got to work in Chulalongkorn University, Bangladesh University of Professionals, and on a project with the US Department of Energy, give lecture to young diplomats at US Department of State, Nepali Army Command and Staff College, Armed Police Force Academy, and many others. Because of NIICE, I have got opportunities to participate at high-level conference in India, China, Egypt, Singapore, Ukraine, Armenia, Afghanistan, and many others. India remains as our most important neighbor. Every year we organize at least one major India-Nepal dialogue in this country. Recently, we hosted CAPS India Dialogue in January 2025, Indo-Pacific Forum with National Maritime Foundation in December 2024, and NatStat Dialogue in 2023. We have MOU with CLAUSE, CAPS, NMF, and over 100 global institutions. We look forward to deeper engagement with Indian think tanks and universities in days ahead. We also hope that the government of Nepal, particularly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, will extend greater support to think tanks in this country. We also hope government of India provide more support to Indian think tanks so that they are visible more in Kathmandu. Quite often we can see them here. Among Nepali think tanks, NIICE has one of the highest website and YouTube reach in this country. We have also launched Journal of Security and International Studies, which has been delayed due to resource constraints, but we promise to take it forward. Finally, everything that we have achieved in last 10 years is because of your support. Each one of you present here who have contributed several hours of your life, sitting with us, inspiring us, and our incredible team, Sumitra, Vivek, Meera, Sunena, Sumnima, Saroj, and many others who are now like our family. Please continue to guide us and support us so that we can meet again in February 2036, 10 years from today. I once again thank everyone for the immense support. NIICE belongs to each one of you. You are part of our family and you need no invitation to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, for delivering the opening remarks. Now I would like to invite Vice Admiral Sanjay Jasjit Singh, the Director General of United Service Institution of India, to deliver the remarks.
Director NIICE, Ms. Sumitra Karki, Research Director NIICE, Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a matter of honor and privilege for me to interact with you today on a very topical subject on the auspicious occasion of the 10th anniversary of NIICE. And as I offer my felicitations and greetings to you after listening to how much you achieved in a short 10 years, I can only say, nicely done. It's also a very apt subject that you ask a professional naval officer who spent 40 years out at sea to look from the seas to the mountains, to look from far to appreciate the near, and to look from global sea links to neighboring land links to better understand and offer a few, perhaps distant, not necessarily accurate, but fresh perspectives on Indo-Nepal security from the points of cooperation, convergence, and continuity. So let me offer a couple of views, and let me look at it from the last. Let's look at continuity. As Ms. Karki brought out, thousands of years of a shared civilizational heritage, common culture, links that have remained people to people. And as the national leadership often says, on both sides, roti beti ka rishta. What more continuity can we ever imagine? Periodic challenges will come and go, but this underlying strong strand of continuity, which has remained as strong as the Himalayan ranges, will guide us and shape us in whatever format of fresh cooperation and initiatives that we take forward. And precisely for that reason, let's look at the geography. The binding of the Indian subcontinent with the Himalayan ranges to the north, flowing of the rivers from north to south, feeding, promoting, sustaining the livelihoods of millions of people. Flowing from Nepal downwards to the Gangetic Plains, building up the prosperity of India, shows once again the kind of continuity that we share. The continuity of trade, economy and mobility. Ms. Karki spoke of open borders, no mean feat. Open borders that have lasted for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. In modern times, this has been achieved in very few places. And that too, after substantive amount of efforts, time, investment of political capital. Here, it is something that we have inherited. It's natural. As natural as the flowing of the rivers from the north to the south. And that's something for us to appreciate and enjoy, because this unique characteristic underscores the trust and the strong bonding from local to national that exists between our two countries and people. Let's also look at the political. Nepal has stood out as a strong beacon of sovereignty and independence down the centuries. It's something very unique in this region, in the Indian subcontinent, and it's something for us all to be proud about. It is also a matter of fact that India has taken pride in this Nepal's feat and achievement, and has stood and sought to stand side by side and work alongside in meeting both new and old challenges. And we can never forget military. For at least 2 centuries, the valor and courage of the Nepali Gorkha troops has been at the forefront of Indian security. There is nary a conflict that has existed in which the Gorkha troops have not led from the front and displayed exceptional valor, which has stood out across the beacons of history books across the world. Let's remember Field Marshal Maneksha's famous words, that if there is someone who says he's not afraid of dying, he has to be a Gorkha. Let's move on to cooperation. And as I said, I'll look from a naval perspective, and I'll take the vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, and translate it into a land concept. The principal underlying theme of Sagar is connectivity. And that connectivity that we seek to build across the seas is inherent here in Indio-Nepal domain. Is there in the economy, is there in the trade, the transit, the highways. Sagarmala, which over the last 10 years has seen a fantastic boost in India and promises to enhance our GDP by 3% of connecting the ports, development of the roads and rail links, also extends up to Nepal. The same Sagarmala is available over here. So along with India's economic growth, the cooperation that exists by participating in Sagarmala projects extends across to Nepal, Nepal's economy as well. Information highways, entrepreneurship, a phenomenal boost over the last 5 years, especially in India. The growth of education, the new education policy, changes that are coming in. Changes that come in, ladies and gentlemen, can offer challenges, can be seen as setbacks, and can be seen as opportunities. It depends upon us and devolves upon us to seize those opportunities and take our respective people and our countries forward. Let's also look at energy. The phenomenal growth in energy links between our two countries over the last decade. The potential of hydropower projects to resolve the energy shortages on both sides of the border from across seasons and be a major boost to the economy of Nepal. New minerals that are getting discovered. The opportunity to develop those and plug those into the Indian industry. Looking also at ecology and HADR, Ms. Sumitra Karki brought out. This region is ecologically very sensitive. It's not just a matter of history, it's also a matter of survival that we look after the ecology and the environment. And the ecology and environment in Nepal directly impacts upon India and the Indian people. And hence, cooperation in this region is a given. That as we work towards studying climate change, looking at disaster-resilient infrastructure, looking at early warning systems, looking at dual institutions and mechanisms where we can cooperate and respond, preferably prevent. If not prevent, then at least respond in time to save ourselves from the ensuing disaster of extreme events. And never ever, like I said, forget military cooperation. The military cooperation has been a given between our two countries. Yet, the environment is changing. Challenges and changes in warfare are changing. And as they change, so must the scope of the cooperation between our respective armies, our respective security forces. Greater investment in jointness, in doctrines, in technology, in niche areas, cyberspace, harnessing these in an institutional mechanism is something that we both will benefit from. And to the third and last point of convergence, again I'll bring back converting Sagar to Mahasagar. From Sagar, that is security and growth for all in the region, to Mahasagar, that is mutual and holistic advancement of Sagar, of security and growth, because the two go together. Without security, you can't have growth. And without growth, you really can't ensure your security, or anyone's for that matter. So mutual and holistic advancement would require the clear recognition that there are no strategic divergences between India and Nepal. Rather, there are huge convergences, whether we look at it from the points of geography, history, culture, economy, trade, people-to-people contacts. From a shared history, we also have a shared future. Changes and challenges, as I mentioned, are part and parcel of the game. But on the bedrock of our strength of relations, we have the ability to meet each of these as they come, not allow them to disturb the overall movement and growth of both our countries towards becoming developed countries in the next 2 decades, if not earlier. And last, a clear recognition that we have that today, security covers multiple aspects: economic, energy, ecology, food, water, disaster resilience, law and order. Regional stability today is also affected by the global turbulence around us. The world is in a flux. The world order itself is undergoing unprecedented stresses and strains. And as it evolves, once again, as we stand shoulder to shoulder, you can ensure that the mechanism that emerges out of it is something that suits both of our interests in equal manner. The new global domains, already Ms. Karki has mentioned it, about terrorism, trafficking, whether it's humans, drugs or arms, radicalization, information warfare, cyber and space. These are fields that are increasingly impacting us and impacting our youth. And once again, we need to work closely together on these so that, as I mentioned, we look towards development. And once again, Ms. Karki spoke about digital. We've been focusing on digital India, the impact it's had on our economy. At a time of COVID, when the world faced severe shocks, so did we. We were shaken, but not pushed down, largely because of the strength of the digital economy. And that's something where we can work closely with and have been working closely with. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, India and Nepal are closely linked through history and have worked together with mutual benefit. The recognition of the underlying continuity in our relations and the convergence of interests point us towards enhancing our cooperation and our efforts towards mutual growth and development. And I'm confident of doing that as we go along, at least at the institutional level between NIICE and USI. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your remarks. Now I would like to open the floor for the questions. We'll take 3 to 5 questions, and the question answers round will be for 10 to 15 minutes only. So, NIICE team, can you please hand over the mic? And you plus, first please introduce yourself and ask the questions, and I request you to take only 30 seconds for one question. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Rajesh. I am the former Additional Inspector General of Armed Police Force, and I also did have opportunity to work as Executive Director in the Institute of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for your kind remarks, and it was very constructive and comprehensive one. So my queries goes to VADM Sanjay, Jasjit, Singh. Mr. Singh, given your extensive experience in drafting India's maritime security strategies and your current role leading India's oldest security think tank, how can the concept of jointness could be materialized, which we see evolving within the Indian Armed Forces, be practically applied to Nepal-India border management to transition from a porous frontier to a technologically integrated security corridor without compromising the historical open border policy, as we are looking forward with the excellent management of the border control management, the organization that I served for a longer period. Thank you.
First, we collect all the questions, then we'll start answering. Another? And we believe in equal participation. I request to the ladies participants to get up and ask questions. And I also request to the youngsters, Generation G, please come forward for the question.
I'm Keshav Prasad Chaulagai, Interreligious Council, Nepal. My question goes to the Sanjay ji. What is the India's understanding about the Aryavarta? Aryavarta is the cultural ideology which is helping to join the India and Nepal by culturally, and in future it may help to restore the security also in between the Nepal and India. So what is the India's understanding about the Aryavarta? Thank you.
Can I ask one question? Sir, you talked about Sagarmala and other initiatives that are there in the maritime affairs. NIICE has worked on Nepal's outlook of Indo-Pacific, and where we claim that Nepal is a virtual maritime country because there is no border, it's open border between Nepal and India, where I can drive from here to any parts of the coastal city, and like we don't need visa, any kind of, documentation. So I claim that we are a virtual maritime country because our border ends at Kanyakumari and all those. Second is that even when you talk about maritime affairs, measure of the concern comes on non-national security issues where the border hardly matters. Second is that we see that there is deep relation between Indo-Pacific water and the Himalayas. When India started to get closer to US and other countries on maritime affairs, China started to see it as a threat. And then they say, oh, you'll create a threat for me, or you challenge me in the Indian Ocean water, maybe I can challenge you the Himalayas. And that's why a number of standoff from Doklam to all those that exist, Pangong, Sikkim and all have existed. So this shows that there's deep competition between Indo-Pacific water and the Himalayas. More competition in water will be reflected on Himalayas. Whether Nepal claims to be part of that strategy or not. Third, through BIMSTEC also we have open access to Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal region. So in this context, like how do you think Nepal and India can jointly work on Indo-Pacific affairs, or you can say maritime security and all those, that Nepal can also be a part of that debates, discussion, because what happens in the Indian Ocean is equally important for Nepal because our trade and transit, everything takes place from that region. Thank you.
We'll take one more questions if, okay, please.
Namaste everyone. My name is Sunita Karki. I am from Annapurna Post. First of all, congratulations to the NIICE team. And my question goes to NIICE team also. How do you work with the government? And do you provide any policy suggestion yet? Thank you.
Okay, one more to Mohan sir, please.
Good morning to everybody in the hall. It's not a question. Just yesterday I read in the AMSN news that Nepal and India are on the verge of signing extradition treaty, which you have mentioned. It's just an addition to what you have said. You have covered almost all gamut of our bilateral relations, and was very nice. Just for information, if somebody has missed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your suggestions. Okay. Last. So this one will be last.
So I'm Professor Anil Kumar Mahapatra. I'm currently ICCR chair in Tribhuvan University, and actually on the Republic Day, I saw that how the embassy was the ambassador was giving some ex gratia grants to the people, the Nepali Gorkhas who died, and that was a very shocking moment for me. But what I found that after 2022, after this Ognivir scheme is launched, now the recruitment of Nepalese to Indian Army perhaps effectively has been stopped. So how do you see that how this again it will be resumed, and how it will have the tie will be better if that is resumed, and that can attract more Nepalese into the Indian Army? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I request sir to answer them all. Thank you.
And thank you for that. The first couple of questions, there are certain portions I missed out, and I'll get back to you on those, sir, to ask you clarity on that. But let me first take on from Sagarmala, favorite subject of mine, being a naval officer. You're absolutely correct, sir. It's wonderfully said. Nepal is as much a maritime country as India is. In fact, last few years, we've been talking of that the 21st century is actually the century of the seas. And we are seeing that increasingly in the last couple of decades of how closely it is linked to Indian growth and development. And by extension, to Nepal's, because of open borders, because of those links. When you talk of importing oil, just one figure for you. India's dependence on the seas for oil is 96%. 89% is directly imported. 25% of what is imported is re-exported. Out of the domestic production of 11%, half of that, 5.5% is offshore. Now, considering the amount of flow of energy oil to Nepal, the security and growth at sea is impacting you, and that's why you very correctly have brought out and said, Indo-Pacific security impacts you as well. Imagine when you have pirates in the Red Sea, when you have piracy of Somalia, when you have disruption of trade, when you have disruption in the Persian Gulf, and oil flow gets disrupted for any reason, it impacts you as much. Likewise, when you have growth of the port connectivity across India and the time taken, 10 years ago, it used to take 4 days for a ship to unload in any average Indian port. Now it's down to 1 day, better than the global average. Now that connectivity is because of Sagarmala. That same Sagarmala connectivity is extended to Nepal and to you. So when we talk at times nowadays and we say India is actually an island state with land borders, as much as you said, so is Nepal, an island state connected to the seas through Indian connections, and those links must remain at the back of our mind as to how do we strengthen those links, make the movement across it easier, faster, with greater volumes, because that automatically takes care of the economies of scale and takes care of both our requirements. Absolutely correct that Nepal's involvement in the Bay of Bengal, in the Indian Ocean, is vital. And that's why you're a central figure in the BIMSTEC. In various discussions that have taken place in the BIMSTEC, times people have asked this question and wondered, why is Nepal there? Because Nepal, as you very correctly have brought out, has got a huge dependence on the seas. It's just that the proximity from the seas is a little bit further, but that little bit further is no longer to be looked upon in times of distance, it is to be looked upon in times of time. And while the distance remains the same, the time is getting reduced with the growth of connectivity. So yes, the ongoing measures in your ongoing institutional mechanisms and a greater attention to the Cs is very much required, and that's exactly what you're doing. And all the linkages that you have with institutions across in India, I think they're coming in handy to bring that home. Second, there's a query about, please correct me if I get it wrong, because I didn't hear the question entirely. How does USI work with the government? Was that the question, Ms. Karki? Could you amplify that question? How can government work with think tanks? I'll get back to you, sir. I'll get back to you, because I didn't understand your question at all. I'll get back to you. This one I partially understood, that's why. How does government work with think tanks? It's I think, traditionally, it's a rollover regurgitation policy. When you come up with new ideas, any ideas, government doesn't have the normal method of government is allow a discussion and a debate to take place so that all points of view can be examined in depth, key issues pulled out and then further filtered, and those are the ones that become policy inputs. That regurgitation is the job of think tanks. That is where you bring in a synthesis of the academic, the practitioner, the past practitioner, like some of us over here, and put the policy makers, practitioners, theorists, academicians, strategists in one room and create a khichdi and mix it around and see what you can get out of the Sagar Manthan, and that becomes a feedback into the policymaker. And that has been a great role of all think tanks, and that is why the number of think tanks that we need actually needs to be more. India has a large number of think tanks, but actually we need to have more. And that's why here, NIICE has done so much in the last 10 years in being able to build up its links and provide policy inputs. There's a question, sir, regarding Agniveer and Gorkhas. Two issues across here that we've got to remember. One, Gorkhas have been part and parcel of the Indian Armed Forces for 2 centuries now. Since independence, there has always been a free flow for them to come and join. The aspect of Agniveer needs to be again looked back. As I said, let's look from far to appreciate the near. Color service was non-pensionable, always, historically, in India, as well as most other countries where it remains that way today. It has always been short tenures, high intensity training, capitalize on the youth and their energy, build up their character and discipline, give them a broader perspective, and they come back and feed into society as more enabled with a certain amount of money in their pocket, better for their experience, and the government harnesses that experience to be utilized in other fields, and that's how you go about building up your human capital for national growth. Now this is the normal. This is what changed since 1975 in India. And what changed in India by extension, because of the agreement that we've always had and honored, was automatically extended to the Gorkhas as well. But till 1975, the color service in the Indian Armed Forces was 7 years. It was non-pensionable. It looked upon getting the youth young, using them, training them, imparting education to them, enabling them, and thereafter they went back into civil society as strong members of society. That is the way it has always been. Only since 1975, for reasons at that time that we were undergoing major technological changes, there were socio-political changes, there were economic challenges. For a variety of reasons, we converted to having a pensionable tenure, but the debate and discussion in India of reverting back to the color service goes back to at least the late 1980s. Within 15 years of having introduced pensionable service, the debate and discussion happened when the first lot were retiring after 15 years to say, was this better? Was the previous model better? Now, that discussion and debate has carried on for several decades. Finally, a decision is taken, let's revert back to the way it was, which has served us well, has served internationally everybody well. Now, whatever we have done in India, when we introduced pensionable service, it was automatically extended to the Nepali troops as well. When we reverted back to non-pensionable service, the same has automatically been extended. It is available to you. But as I understand, for various sets of concerns within Nepal, their recruitment has not yet happened. But I am quite confident the day you take the decision and say, all right, let's go back to the way it was. Remember when I said continuity, we go hundreds of years. Let's look at history with a larger perspective. The concerns that we are talking about, let's look at history and see were those concerns validated the way it was pre-1975. Same way today. This year, the Agniveers, the first batch of Agniveers in India are completing to the completion of their tenure. It is going to be a challenging time for us as well. But we are looking back at history and saying, how did we assimilate them throughout? Even pre-independence, how were the troops assimilated? They all served for 3 to 4 years at that time and were demobilized. How did we take care of their requirements as well as use them as a human capital resource to give back into society? So that, by extension, remains with you as well. As I understand, there is no debate or discussion or doubt in India. Whatever we are doing as far as Indian Army and Indian Armed Forces are concerned, Nepal, Nepalese personnel, Gorkhas are part and parcel of it. You only have to take a choice and say, all right, let's go back and let's see. Let's look at changes, as I said, at changes and challenges not as setbacks, but as opportunities. We look upon them as opportunities, we move forward together. Whatever we are going through, we're going through together. We're willing to go through it together. So I am not familiar with the concerns and discussions and debate as to why the Nepali troops are not joining up. But I'm sure as and when those are addressed, we will revert back to the way it has always been for centuries and will continue. Now, the first two questions that were there, sir, one was regarding border management. I didn't understand it entirely, very clearly. You spoke about how can we improve border management. Was that the question, sir? What is there to improve in border management? You have open borders. Why do you want to manage open borders? What you have today is something unique across the world. The world over, there are controls and restrictions. The world over, people have had to struggle for decades to try and introduce open borders. Here we have inherited them. You only have to use technology in order to safeguard against threats that may emerge of movement from one side to the other. And that technology is when you talk of information systems, cyber systems, surveillance systems, e-governance, linking up our systems with each other, sharing of intelligence. But let's do it in a manner that does not take us back in any manner. Because what we've achieved and what is naturally achieved by us across the world, it has taken countries decades to even get to the first step, let alone there'll be 100 years before they reach the kind of familiarity and comfort zone that we have between India and Nepal. So let's not look at border management, I would suggest. Let's look at border governance. Let's look at security governance. Let's look at security cooperation. Let's not look at anything that may impinge in a negative manner on the free flow of trade, economy, goods, people. That will not be to our interest. So the other question that you spoke of Aryavartan and cultural ideology. Could you say that again? I didn't understand that question. Absolutely the same as what you said. That we have shared civilization, shared cultural values. Roti beti ka rishta isse bada kya ho sakta hai? Can there be any relationship larger than roti beti ka rishta? Now, challenges and changes will come in every family. But this underlying principle of what you share between two people, between two cultures, between two civilizations, that doesn't change. And that is what gives us the common strength to be able to deal with changes and challenges that may come across. There'll be temporary dips up and down, but let's step back and look at it not in terms of weeks or even years, sometimes not even decades. Let's look back and see across centuries how we managed it and how it has been to our mutual advantage. And I am very confident, sir. As I said, I look from the seas to the mountains, from far to near. When you look from far, these minor ups and downs and challenges are very minor dips. When you take the overall trajectory of growth and relations, it is, as you very correctly have brought out in a beautiful Sanskrit shloka. Pardon me, my Sanskrit knowledge is not as strong as yours. Maybe I need to come back to Nepal and study some more about it from you, sir. But that's the way it is, that's the way it has been, and that's the way I'm sure will continue to remain. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this now brings us to the end of our first session titled Nepal-India Security Cooperation, Convergence, Cooperation and Continuity.